let's talk about the problem I saw at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Hey yo, Chris here, and thanks for tuning into the Delta. Um, I had to take a bit of a step back after that race there in Bahrain. Um, my immediate reaction was like, I need to get on to the camera and I need to get going. I need to put it out, but like I didn't want to come off as a crazy, and I still might come off as a crazy in this video, but at least I've let some time to like kind of clear my head and put my thoughts together in a more cohesive manner. Um, the Bahrain Grand Prix was underwhelming to say the least. I was not very excited throughout the race. There were moments that like were cool, but let's just get into the race, and then we'll discuss the problem that I think needs to be discussed. I'm just obviously when you're a broadcast on F1 and stuff like that, you're trying to talk up F1, and I don't know if there's going to be many people talking about the problem as much as they're going to try to spin everything into excitement, and I just don't see the excitement. So let's just first start with the race. Verstappen and Red Bull didn't miss a beat. They finished first and Checo second on the podium. Sainz had a great race and finished third, and he also won the driver of the day. That was kind of like a exciting and promising moment for me personally, and I love Carlos Sainz, and I'm glad that he performed the way he did. But overall, we are looking at the race day as a whole. That's not enough to be like, wow, what an amazing Bahrain Grand Prix. I can't wait until we get going to the next race. No, it's just cool because I'm a fan. Leclerc, he ended up coming in fourth despite really bad braking issues from the get-go. Like all race, but like from the jump, he complained about braking issues. So that's actually kind of impressive. He maintained fourth place position. You got George Russell, he came in fifth. Lando Norris in sixth. Hamilton, he advanced from ninth place to seventh. Piastri scored points for McLaren at eighth place. Alonso scored low points, as I predicted, at ninth, and somehow Stroll found his way into the 10th spot. Then there was everyone else. Nothing stands out there, really. I think it's kind of something we all expected to see in this order from P11 to P20. You know, insert some driver here, and he was like, oh, yeah, they came in 11th. And you're like, okay, cool. And, oh, yeah, this driver came in 17th. Yeah, okay, I can see how that happened. So I don't think the bottom half of the standings was anything spectacular. But then that leads us into the team standings. We can discuss those, get those out of the way. Red Bull now in first place with 44, Ferrari with 27, Mercedes with 16, and McLaren with 12, Aston Martin with 3, and everyone else has big old goose eggs. I'd say this was all expected. If you think about it, if you look at the Constructor Championship standings, you're like, yeah, that seems about right. But what I wasn't expecting was the pure dominance by Red Bull and everyone else's lack of ability to figure out how to close the gap from last year to this year. That's shocking to me that one team just continued their dominance from last year's last race into this year's first race, and no one else stepped forward to even like compete in any part of the race at all. Ferrari has issues with the car, at least on Leclerc's side. I don't know if it's an easy fix or not, but just looking at Sainz, who raced well in his gap from the Red Bulls, not impressed with the car. Everyone else in the field is missing some sort of major component to their car. Mercedes is overheating. McLaren, not at the pace they need yet. Aston Martin is also missing pace, and everyone else has their own problems in some shape or form. So, I don't know. Red Bull's up here, everyone else is down here, and then you got like Like maybe Ferrari's right here and Mercedes and McLaren are like down here, but they're still miles away. The good news for Ferrari is that they are clearly the second best team right now. Just the way the car looks compared to the rest of the field, not named Red Bull. If they don't figure out how to close the gap to Red Bull, though, I can see the rest of the field closing the gap on them. And then we aren't talking about Ferrari solidifying a second place Constructors Championship, but fighting for it. Or worse, fighting for third or fourth place, which, I mean, if today's race indicates how the rest of the season is going to go, that might be the exciting part of the season, is how far will Ferrari drop, or can Ferrari hold off Mercedes and McLaren? You know, because unlike Red Bull, Ferrari just isn't miles ahead of the field. When the other teams start figuring out how they want their car and making their car better, they'll close the gap easily on Ferrari. What else is there to talk about the race? Some notes. No real cautions or any stoppages all race. Not one driver DNF'd. It's not all sunshine and roses at RB, as Yuki Tsunoda was asked to give up a position for Daniel Ricciardo. And Yuki definitely didn't like that. I mean, he let his opinion be known over the radio and then pulled some weird stunt dive bombing Ricciardo on the post-race lap. You know, when they cross the finish line, they go around the lap again, the track again, and decided to dive bomb Ricciardo and then lock up, and I don't know, made some sort of spectacle. It was weird. That was weird. There you go. That's the headline of the Bahrain race. Yuki Tsunoda threw a little temper tantrum after the race on track. Another thing was Haas performed better than expected despite Hulkenberg's getting damage to his car there, turn 1, lap 1. Had a little, I guess, an incident, I think, with Stroll, if I remember correctly. So he didn't finish well, but Kevin Magnussen found his way into 12th place, which is kind of cool. No one was expecting Haas to get there. Still no points, but, I mean, Haas in 12th place out of 20. Better than I would have thought. Williams also has some sort of engine overheating issues. Not much. I couldn't find much other than just what Alex Albon was reporting over the radio about that and like some post-race interview stuff. Kick Sauber found some pace today somehow as Guan Yu placed in 11th. Alpine is still slow and Sargent places in last position. It's like the 2023 season never ended. It just had an extended break and we returned to the norm in 2024. And that was the Bahrain Grand Prix. There's not much left to say about it. It was kind of boring in my opinion. And the only reason there was a little excitement was because it was the first race of the year. So that was the race. Let's talk about the problem, or at least the problem I see. I don't know if everyone's going to agree with me or if this is just me being ranting and raving, but I see a problem. And that problem is Red Bull seems to take this way more serious than anyone else. Like Ferrari comes into the season with high hopes and clearly came in today with no answer. I mean, it's the first race of the year and you don't have your number one driver. You don't have his car tuned to the way that he needs it to be competitive starting in P2. Maybe it gets better, but as of now, they aren't competing with Red Bull in any respectable manner. As for the other teams, they just seem content. It's not like they don't want to win. It's not like they're showing up saying, oh, whatever. But like prior to the race, they are all saying things like, it feels good and we can believe we can be competitive. And I'm sitting here after watching that race. Competitive to who? The next slow team in front of you? You know, like even post-race, like drivers in their post-race interviews were saying things like, we have a lot of work to do, but we are where we expected. You expected to be there? You expected to be 15, 20, 30 seconds, 1 minute behind Red Bull? That was your expectation? If that's your expectation, you're never catching them. You're not competing with them. You are going to be nothing to them. You're just going to be a bunch of other cars that need to exist on that track so the race can exist. We even have like people like Fernando Alonso, somebody who I like admire, during practices and quali, finishing laps saying like that lap felt good. You were 1 minute and 14 seconds behind the race winner, and you went into the race saying things felt good. Now, I don't know what I expect the drivers and teams to say, because I suppose you don't want them sitting there saying, "Ah, well, we suck, so we just decided to, get our car here and do something." But this laissez-faire attitude on how your car is performing is just crazy to me. We can sit here and say Verstappen is too good and Red Bull's car is too fast, but this is not their problem. This is a Ferrari problem, not figuring out how to jump off the blocks and be competitive to Verstappen seemingly after the first corner. This is a Mercedes problem. Forget about the overheating. They didn't even have the pace. So you were overheating, driving slow. This is a McLaren problem, an Aston Martin problem, and all the other teams' problem. Coming into this race, not ready to go. Red Bull came in ready to go. Does Red Bull have like some secret engineering school no one else has access to? Do they have access to more data or analytics that other teams don't? You mean to tell me you saw what Red Bull did last year and learned nothing? You didn't learn how to make your car better on the straights. You didn't learn from them how to preserve your tires better. I'm just confused how you can be boat raced by them all last season and not be better or more competitive against them this year. It blows my mind. And I get there's like money and like there's differences in caps and place, like where you place in the Constructors Cup. But you're telling me that second and third place in the Constructors Championship isn't enough reward money to get you close to Red Bull? You're just going to what? You're going to lose to Red Bull by 25 seconds? That's Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz came in third and was 25 seconds behind Red Bull. And Ferrari was a top 3 team last year, right? Yeah. Ferrari was a top 3 team last year. Mercedes was a top 3 team last year. And you're telling me they didn't win enough money for being second and third to be competitive this year. Every team knew how good Red Bull is. And to come into the first race and let them just run roughshod over you just blows my mind again. I'm still kind of at a loss for words. This is not good for the sport. Max Verstappen may go down as the greatest driver in Formula One history, while simultaneously being the reason Formula One dies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know what like the Hamilton era was like. I didn't watch the Hamilton era. I didn't get in until the Verstappen era. But he won year after year after year, and yet somehow people were still entertained. So maybe I'm overreacting, but I don't know how this current era of F1 is entertaining. The season just started, and I feel like it is already over with the performances I saw out there. After last season of Verstappen dominance, it will just be another boring year if it continues through this season. Like last year, you could have an argument saying like, oh, we're witnessing greatness, and you were. This year, if you're witnessing the same greatness, you're just going to be bored. Now, it's only the first race. Things may and can change drastically, but if it's not figured out soon, it won't be many races into the season before Verstappen and Red Bull are just going to be hightailing it in, sprinting towards another championship, and us sitting here trying to find some other narrative to make the season interesting. Now, again, usually it's a Ferrari thing where they screw something up so we can talk about that. But as for a competitive outlook on the race and on the season, there's no interest there. I'm hopeful, but I'm not really confident. I'm excited for next week's race just to see like if Bahrain was just a one-off. Maybe this was all just a one-off. Red Bull just performs very, very well at Bahrain, and next week in Saudi Arabia, things get tighter. because Red Bull doesn't perform better on that track, and Ferrari does, and McLaren does, and next thing you know, we're having a real battle. But I mean, after today's race, I don't know how else you can look into the future with excitement or anticipation. I'm just hoping we're not seeing a pattern. Like, if this I hope that's not the beginning of the pattern. If Verstappen and Red Bull come in and win next week's race by another 20-30 seconds, then I don't know where we can try to make this season exciting. But anyway, that's it. The Bahrain GP is in the books. On to Saudi Arabia next week. I know this was kind of a downer video, and I don't know what other YouTube creators or F1 pundits are saying about today's performances, but I feel like it's necessary to stay real and genuine and discuss what I see and what I feel. And I am genuinely concerned on how this season is going to unfold. How do you guys feel about the Bahrain GP? Was it what you expected? Are you shocked, disappointed? Maybe you're happy. Like, if you're a Verstappen fan, I'm sure you're jumping in the air and clicking your heels together. Let's cross our fingers for a better and more exciting race week next week. Anyway, my name is Chris. Thanks for tuning into the Delta. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Bye, everybody. Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in. If you're enjoying this video, you're going to love what we have over on Twitch. Over there, I may play many games, but with the F1 season quickly upon us, I want you to join me with some F1 gaming content. I am thinking of playing games like F1 23 or F1 Manager on Thursdays and or Friday nights prior to the actual race in real life. For example, if they are racing in Silverstone, we race in Silverstone, and see how we stack up as a driver or team manager. Over there, we can chat about F1, share some opinions, stories, jokes, or anything really, accompanied by some fun Formula 1 gameplay. Head over to the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/delta_4_7_G to join the fun. Don't miss out, hit that follow button, and be a part of the action. See you there. Oh, too fast, slow down. Oh, missed all this.